Hello, everybody. This is Brian O'Haron. This is number 5, the fifth version of this program. And tonight we're going to be talking about the Water and Sewer Commission. But what I want to say to you is that when I came back here and retired, and I started to study the town, well, I found that one of the best commissions that I went to many, many times was the Water and Sewer Commission. Very professional, only 5 people on the commission. I thought they were the best profit center we had in here, and I told many people that. So I've always been very high on the Water and Sewer Commission. Now I want to tell you that Yogi Berra once said that deja vu all over again. And one of the things we're going to be talking about tonight is that years ago we had a similar problem with in town and almost went broke. And what we had to do in the end, we're moving money around from the water and sewer to the town and vice versa or whatever, and sometimes not even paying it back from what I hear from historians here around town. And we are in that position again. So last time what we did was we made a water and sewer commission. And now people want to take away the water and sewer commission. And that's what this program we're going to talk a bit about tonight. So we're going to talk about the Water and Sewer Commission. Next slide, please. Here we go again. In time of trouble. And I'm going to be voting no for the charter revision that tries to put water and sewer back under the selectmen when they already once in the past had it taken away from them because they didn't do a good job at managing the thing. So we're going to deja vu, like Yogi Berra says. Here we go again in time of trouble. I'm voting no for the charter revision question, which I'll show you at the end of the program. That's going to be on the ballot on November 5th. I would suggest you consider doing the same thing. Now, I want to talk a bit about the history here of the Water and Sewer Commission. We're not going to talk too much about it, but I want to talk a little bit about it. There was evidently, from what I gather from talking to a lot of people around town over the last few months, is there was a bit of a commingling of funds when managed by the selectmen in troubled past years, financially troubled past years, and that they would move money around. And this went on for like 20 years or something, and they would take it from the Water and Sewer Commission, I'm told, to pay town bills with, and then not give it back. So that was the basic problem when the selectmen were running it before. Now, there's a long history there. I can't go into the whole history tonight, but in 1997-98 time frame, the Sewer and Water Commission was formed as a check and balance on the selectmen. That's a check and balance that the majority in power now want to take away, the liberals that are in power on the Board of Selectmen Finance Board. We don't want that to happen. Now the selectmen in the majority and their supporters want to change it back the way it didn't work before. Doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to vote no on that. Now there are 5 reasons, next slide, 5 reasons why the liberal majority want to, next slide, disband the Water and Sewer Commission. Next slide, and have the selectmen assume its powers again. We're going to go through those reasons tonight very quickly because, there's only a half-hour program. We can't give you a whole history. But reason 1, next slide, these people that are in power, the selectmen in the majority, liberal Democrats, they want to gain the power to raise water and sewer rates to help when the town is in financial trouble, as it is now and was many years ago, like the present. That's what they want. That's one of the reasons out of the 5. To gain the power to raise water and sewer rates to help when the town is in financial trouble, like the present. The state has recently suggested that we raise water and sewer rates by 70%. to help pay for this financial cash flow problem we have right now. We have already raised them between 20 and 30% between water and sewer. I think water was 22 and 30 two or so was a sewer. So have raised them already, and that's been discussed in the meetings. Presently, the commission can raise the rates after holding a public hearing. They don't need permission from the selectmen to do that. And I did go to the last public hearing for raising the rates to 22 and 32% or whatever it was a few months back. Reason two, next slide. Another reason why they want to give it back to the selectmen, because it may give the selectmen the power to borrow money without going to a dreaded town referendum. They don't like to go to the town referendums because water and sewer doesn't have to go to a town referendum for that kind of thing. And the selectmen would like to avoid it if they could, because they don't like to get it turned down. Now, on the other hand, it's pretty hard to do this kind of thing when you don't have any fund balance and you don't have any credit rating and things like that. So I don't know how serious that is. Next slide, reason three. To control the future of the water and sewer line planning. They want to control that planning. And I told you last week that the Democrats in power, the liberal lemmings that are in power, they want to slow down development throughout the watershed area, especially in the areas that they live in, not in their backyard. So a few months back, man, a few years back now, they had the Plan of Conservation and Development, POCD, committee. I think it was a committee, and they got together. And again, they were mostly the liberals that are trying to protect the watershed area, and most of these people are very, very, very green, and they're more concerned about protecting the area than they are about getting any revenue in to help pay the bills in town. So they're really hurting the town. Anyway, the Water and Sewer Commission submitted a plan to increase their lines and services throughout town into a lot of areas that the POCD committee didn't like. So they went to the Water and Sewer Committee, and they wanted to reduce the lines that the Water and Sewer Commission had asked to be put into the POCD. I was at that meeting, and there were other people there that represented that. George Clausen was presenting the lines and areas that he wanted to strike out, and the Water and Sewer Commission refused. They refused to take any out for good reason. They didn't want to take any of their planned lines. They had thought them out carefully. They didn't want to take any of them out of the POCD. So they were adamant about that. I sat there and I listened to it all. They were adamant. They were stating that they wanted to be able to accommodate growth, just exactly what we need. Get more people using the water and sewer lines. We got plenty of water in this town. We got a lot of water, and they wanted to get more and more people as the town grew. They wanted to promote growth and get them on to the water and sewer lines, paying fees, of course, and hookup fees, and also for usage fees. So they were very adamant about that. So now I'm going to go into reason 4, which is the next slide, and that is that the liberals in majority wanted to sell the town-owned land around Crystal Lake at Highland Lake for a fraction of their worth. You keep hearing the mayor bring that up all the time. Oh, you didn't want to bring that money into town. Well, these liberals in the majority wanted to sell the town-owned land around Crystal Lake and Summit Highland Lake for a fraction of their worth. And they had reasons for that. Their excuse was, well, we can raise $350K by selling all this land or so in one-time non-recurring revenue. It was going to bring in $350K in non-recurring revenue. That means we would take that money in, put it in our budget to do things, and then the next year we wouldn't get that $350K again. In following years we wouldn't either, plus we wouldn't own the land anymore. Now the real reason they wanted to do that was to preserve the land so it can never be developed. Now I'm a little bit against that because it was town-owned land. I'd rather see it go to people who will enjoy the lake, enjoy the land where they can around Crystal Lake. A lot of it you can't use around Crystal Lake anyway because the federal government won't let you ever since we had 9/11 and maybe even before that. So we want to make sure that people can enjoy it. and pay taxes on it. And a lot of people will buy the next lot from them, and they'll put it into the land trust, and that means that some young people with children can't buy it, have a little cottage, and enjoy the lake. So we're kind of against it. But the main reason is it was not worth, it's worth a lot of money, and we weren't going to get anywhere near its value if we sold it. And the commission was not in favor of that sale for good reason. They knew they weren't getting enough money for it. They really didn't like the terms of the deal, and they weren't in favor of that. So you see the reasons are starting to mount up here now. Now, the next reason is reason number 5. The water and sewer, that's it, you got it. The water and sewer wants to accommodate the proposed health center in Barkhamsted. Now, for many years, we have had lines running down to the little shopping center down there as you leave Winston and get into Barkhamsted, where the cinema is, and all those little shops and People's and the odd stores down there, the tractor store. So that's been for a long, long time. And when that was put in, it was restricted to that area only down in Barkhamsted, and they couldn't. Barkhamsted, would only have that. Now, then along came the hospital. They don't really call it a hospital, they call it a health center. That's the one that's in Winston now. And the liberal town leaders, that's everywhere from selectmen, finance board, EDC, the Nader family, and all that. The liberal town leaders in the majority and some of their supporters wanted to keep the health center in Winston. Now, I was in the EDC at that time, and I was asked to go up and talk to the hospital about this. So I went up to the hospital, and I talked to them, and I asked them to put together, I went with a couple other people from the EDC. I was on the EDC for 3 months before I realized I wasn't going to be able to accomplish anything there, so I dropped off. But it's the only committee and commission I ever dropped off early, but I just didn't see that I was going to get anywhere there. But anyway, I went up to the hospital with a couple of people from EDC. I asked them, Brian Mattiello at the hospital, to prepare a list of his objectives for the health center and why he had 2 different developers out looking for places for that health center. And he wrote up these list of objectives. And they were pretty clear, and they were from the hospital's point of view. And we went over it, the 2 ladies and I, and we spent a couple hours there. And then I came back and I wrote a little report to the EDC that said, hey, these guys know what they're doing. They know much more about the hospital business than we do. And they should be left to make their own decision. If we can accommodate them in Winston, that's okay. Let's everybody was looking to see if they could be accommodated to meet their objectives in Winston, and it kind of looked like it wasn't heading in that direction. There were a whole bunch of things in there that they didn't think they could get in our town. So over time, at the same time, they were negotiating with the water and sewer group to see if they could get water and sewer down to this piece of property that's sort of like right over the line, just when as you're going to that little Barkhamsted shopping center. On the left-hand side, there's the piece of vacant property, and that's what they wanted. And they had a lot of reasons for that being in consideration. Now, there were other developers were looking at other places. The developer was looking in Winston to see if there was anything that would satisfy their needs. And in the end, there was a commitment made with the people in the, I believe, I'm pretty sure, with the people in the health center, in the hospital, to be able to, Alan Borghese and his developers, to be able to get the water down to that spot, should they, in the end, develop a health center there. Now, they may never develop a health center there, but if they do develop a health center there, then that water and sewer would be available to them, and they would pay the hookup fees, et cetera, and then they would pay us for the use of the water in a sewer, just fees, just like everybody else has to do. Now, in our town, people that want to hook up to the water and sewer have to pay for the hookup of all that, and it's quite expensive. and it's a big consideration when people want to do that over a long distance. So now, one of the ways that the liberal lemmings work is they try to slow things down. You know, they hope if a developer's coming to town and he wants to do something in town and they don't want it, they'll try to slow him down. They'll hope he dies. They'll hope he runs out of money. They'll hope he goes broke. There'll be all kinds of impediments thrown in his way or her way, and they're hoping that, you know, it'll die a natural death. And they start looking for things like Indian burial grounds or rare turtles, or, you know, anything else that they can say, hey, you can't do that development in that area for that reason. Well, anyway, this health center is still under consideration by the hospital in Torrington. It may never happen, and then again, it may happen. We don't know when. It'll be many years, I think, before it all happens. But if the health center does go down there, and it may not, then that whole area would be a possibility for doctors' offices, support for the hospital offices of all kinds. And if you ride down there now, you'll see a lot of for sale signs down there, because all the real estate people and all the property owners know that that could be a very, very positive thing for them should that health center ever move into that area. And again, there's no guarantee it will. There's going to be a lot of, it's very complex. You have to deal with the federal government for all the rules they have for health centers. You have to deal with the state. You have to deal with the town. You have to deal with all kinds of things. And what would happen there is that Alan Borghese, the developer, would own the building, and then he would lease it to the health center for X number of years, and they would move from the place in Winsted to that place. Now, I particularly am in favor of this because it's going to be everything that the hospital thinks they need to run a good health center, and I think it's a positive thing for the whole area, not just Winsted, but Barkhamsted and the whole area here. It'll bring a lot of new business in the area and down in that section of the town, and it won't hurt us a bit. Now, the people that own the present health center, they'll have to find another use for that building, and they probably can do that. It's an old building, probably needs some work, but it's not unusual. So what I want to say now is, not again, please, not again. Let's not take and give the Water and Sewer Commission, close it down, and let the Selectmen Finance Board be in charge of it when they couldn't handle it when they were in charge last time, and they had a lot of problems. They didn't pay enough attention to it. There was money being moved around and not paid back and all that kind of thing. I don't know every detail, but I got a pretty good idea what was happening there. And it was commingling, so to speak. I'm not saying it was anything illegal, but it was just not the proper checks and balances. So that's why they set up this Water and Sewer Commission to be a check and balance on the selectmen, so that they just couldn't go willy-nilly and raise rates or do anything they wanted to. There had to be a check and balance on this. So now there are some rumors that maybe that the existing rules could be changed in a future charter change, but there are some get them all in sync with the charter, the state statutes, the ordinances we have. There seems to be some confusion about that stuff, so that could be cleaned up without moving it to the Selectmen Finance Board. They can't even handle what they got now. As I said last week, they're almost broke right now. They're scurrying around, and it's going to change its character. And in the end, if they win the election, they'll probably be running it anyway by packing it with their people, as I said last week. So I would say not only to vote against the charter question on the ballot, but vote against any incumbent that's on the Board of Education or the Board of Selectmen, because we need new people to start taking a look at these things. Now, in a business, when people are almost going broke, what the investors do is they go out and find somebody who can run the business and bring them in, and they say, okay, let's start afresh, let's look at everything, we'll get people with the right skills take a look at it all. And right now we have a lot of accounting skills and a lot of management skills and a lot of business skills, because we're in deep trouble. Because on our board of finance right now, we've got a couple school teachers, we've got a person who used to work for an elevator company fixing elevators and things, and we got another guy who is a sculptor with a degree from Denver, and he putzes around with businesses. I'm not saying it, he might not make it, but we don't really have the skills on there on the Democratic side that we need. Now, I personally won't vote for any Democrat because they have to follow the party line, and if they have good ideas and the other four don't agree with them, or the town committee doesn't agree with them, they can't express those ideas. I don't like that. And if they do express those ideas, then guess what? They're shunned. They're pushed off into the corner. Most of the fiscal conservatives in the Democratic Party, they're shunned. They're not included in most of the goings-on at the town committee and the way we run the town. And some of them are very sharp people. So we now go to the next slide, which is the ballot question. Shall the town of Winchester charter be amended to eliminate the Water and Sewer Commission? I say no, and authorize the Board of Selectmen and its agents to assume all powers of the commission? I say no, leave it the way it is. Next time, if you want to, you can have another, when we get some new people in, we'll look at things objectively, we'll still have the check and balance, we can appoint other people to the commission, we can look at it, and we can even change the charter a little to make it satisfy everybody who thinks maybe it's a little out of whack right now with the way they run it day to day and the way they communicate with the selectmen and all that. That can be fixed. So if you look at the next slide, you'll see that I'm voting no. And I'm voting no because I want to preserve the critical, current, much needed checks and balances and this water and sewer, which is a good part of our revenue that we need to run the water and sewer, and we want to keep the prices reasonable for all the water and sewer users, and we want to extend the facilities so more and more water and sewer users can, new businesses come in and use it. We can get it down the old Route 8 Enterprise Corridor. We can move it out into other areas that don't have water and sewer right now, supply them, and get their fees and improve things, and we have enough money to make the thing work, and we don't have to worry about commingling any money with the town. Now, there's always ways to work with the water and sewer, to work deals with them money-wise and all, but it's got to be a check and balance. It's got to have the users the number one priority. And right now, the users are paying money for things that were corrupt in the town over the years. Money missing, money misspent, money unaccounted for, all that kind of thing. So water and sewer users are really getting hosed here, and I'm saying, and they could get hosed even a lot more over the next few years to help make up for all this stuff. So I'm saying vote no. I'm voting no. I'm encouraging everybody else to do so. We're getting towards the end of the program now. I think the next time I'll probably talk a little bit about what's going on up at Highland Lake, because the Highland Lake people, as I said to you, are really hurting this town financially by not promoting growth in the town and in the area, by trying to preserve the watershed so much that they're starving the town of a future. And we can't have that. We need a balance. We need to make sure that everything balances, that we take care of the environment as well as grow the tax base, the additional profitable revenue part of the tax base, so we can afford all these wants and needs that we have. New roads, $12 million worth of infrastructure stuff, new schools, new the police station, new this, new that. There's a lot of things that we need, and we're way behind because we have not grown the additional revenue part of the tax base, and recurring revenue part of the tax base, and also we deteriorated all our town. It's all deteriorating, and that's not helping us in any way. We're not getting any new money in. We're not flourishing. So we're going backwards. We're not going forward. So if anybody tells you they're here to go forward, I don't see any evidence that whatsoever. We need to make some changes here, and I've always been a revenue guy, saying let's get the revenue in and not worry too much about the expenses, because once you got some money, then you can do a lot of things that you can't do if you don't have any money. And if you don't have any revenue coming in, guess what? You have no choice but to watch the expenses carefully, because of inflation, things are rising. People, we've got a bad economy problem. So there's all kinds of things like that. So with that, I think I'll say thank you very much for watching the program. James Roberts will have one on pretty quickly. I think the fiscal conservative Republicans will also be having a program pretty quickly. And we haven't got that much farther to go before the vote on November 5th. Please vote. Please vote absentee ballot. Contact the town hall, town clerk, if you need any help with that. If you're not going to be here on the day. And you can also register on the day, by the way, down at the voting place. I guess it'll probably be at Pearson, where always is. With that, thank you very much. Enjoy your week.